Hey everybody, and welcome to the farm pond. It is officially fall. Today is October 22nd, and or actually I think, is it October 23rd? It's somewhere in there. It's beautiful out, it's cold in the mornings, warms up to the mid 60s in the evenings and the afternoons. We have this breeze you might be able to hear coming in, and I'm looking at the water, it's moving the water. So we have perfect conditions, perfect time of year for one of my all-time favorite baits, and that is the spinnerbait. So we're gonna talk spinnerbaits today. I've got 4 rods here, and I'm gonna put a spinnerbait on every single one of them. We're gonna look at different profiles, how I rig them, if you wanna use a trailer, do you wanna use a trailer hook, and the conditions to fish them in. So let's get right into it and talk about spinnerbaits. Spinnerbaits come in all different shapes, sizes, colors, style of blades, color of blades, wire frame shape, blade attachment style. They're very diverse, and you can basically have your pick of what you like. The main things to consider when you're fishing is going to be your water clarity, your water depth. If they're chasing shad or they're eating bait fish, they're going to eat a spinnerbait. The question is going to be whether they can hear it or they can see it. So for natural and clear waters, you want, natural colors, whites and maybe something along these lines and some bluegill colors. Or you could even get a little crazy and throw something with more chartreuses or pinks in it. Bass like to see those colors. Now, let's say it's a muddier pond or a lake and the visibility is real low. You're going to want a darker profile. So throw on something with a little more black or blue in it. Maybe even something in the purple and black vein. Now for blades, your primary thing is going to be water clarity and cloud cover. If your water clarity is low, Colorado blades are great because they make a lot of noise. They disturb a lot of water more than your traditional willow blades will. So something along these lines might be better to get the fish's attention in cloudy water. Now, what about cloud cover? So when I drove out here this morning, it was bluebird skies, and we have had this beautiful blanket of clouds roll in, which means they're gonna hit a bronze blade better than they'll hit a silver blade. Not that you'll not get bites on one with silver blades, but bronze blades reflect the light better in cloudy conditions than silver blades do. So they're more visible. So maybe if it's cloudy and you've got dirty water, you want a spinnerbait with some sort of big Colorado bronze blades. Or if you've got more clear skies and better water clarity, maybe you want some silver willow blades. It's gonna be up to your personal taste too. Find out what your fish like at your fisheries. Grab a selection of 3 or 4 spinnerbaits with different blade styles and colors. Try them out and see what they tend to hit and use that. I'm gonna tie on 4 of these mini spinnerbaits that I have out here on these 4 rods, and we're gonna give them a go and see what we can catch them on today. I'm fairly confident we're gonna catch numbers. I don't know about quality, but I've always found spinnerbaits to produce really good numbers when I'm fishing. And I know that they can produce quality, especially when you're throwing something bigger like this Z-Man Slingbladez. Now, this skirt is not a skirt that Z-Man offers. The skirt on this one was on with a rubber band and rotted off, so we put our own skirt on. That's one of the great things about spinnerbaits is when they wear out, you can just put your own skirt on, like that one. We also did that one. Now, as I'm getting ready to tie these on, you might be thinking, what kind of rod and reel do I need to be able to throw a spinnerbait? And it's going to depend on the spinnerbait you want to throw. A heavier spinnerbait, like a 1/2 ounce, like this one, or I think this one is also a 1/2 ounce. You probably want to throw that on a casting setup or on a medium heavy spinning setup. You want something with a little bit more backbone to get a better cast and support the weight of that lure. But I've got a couple little I've got a couple little Booyah spinnerbaits here, little micro spinnerbaits that go great on just your standard medium spinning setup or your light gear, you can get them even smaller than this. But I'll tell you what, I definitely would not throw this guy. Look at the size of that. That is a 1/2 ounce. I would not throw this on a spinning setup. I would be afraid of potentially damaging the tip of my rod. Another thing to consider when you're picking out spinnerbaits, oh, I don't think I've shown you guys this one. This is a tiny one. This one would definitely need to be on a very light spinning setup. And this one's a little bit different than the head moves. That skirt, if you can see that rubber band, is about to rot off. And we'll retie on that one. Another thing to consider is quality of the spinnerbait, because right now, I think it's at Walmart, down on the shelves, you can get a spinnerbait for $1. And for one trip, you're gonna catch 5 or 6 fish on it. That's probably fine. But the hook point is gonna dull pretty quickly. The wireframe is not gonna hold up to repeated catches because that wireframe is flexing when you're catching. You want to invest in a quality spinnerbait if you plan to hang on to it long enough to need to put new skirts on it. The Z-Man Slingbladez is an excellent choice. I have used many of these. I think it is a great choice. I love it. I would continue to buy these. This is a Mustad, and I don't remember the model. I will put it here, and there'll be links to all these spinnerbaits down below. This Mustad spinnerbait I have loved. Look at the wireframe shape compared to your traditional wireframe. You have this reinforced bar here that makes it flexy where it needs to be flexy, stiff where you need it to be stiff, and it's not going to warp as quickly. Additionally, having this isolated eyelet here means your line's not going to slide either direction after a catch. So I really like those things. I had a Googan spinnerbait that I can't find right now. It's probably in a box at the house, and they put a rubber band across, and that works fairly well, but the rubber band can still, like the little O-ring can still pop up and on your line, and then your line can go everywhere, which is what most spinnerbaits, they can go everywhere. But we're gonna tie on these. We're gonna catch some fish. I'm confident that we will catch fish pretty quickly. Let's talk about knots real quick before we tie on. On my smaller spinnerbaits, like these Booyahs, I will probably just do a uni knot. I'm gonna be throwing them on lighter gear, lighter conditions, typically smaller fish, and a uni knot will be just fine. It's very hydrodynamic. It's not gonna create extra drag when you don't want extra drag. On my larger 1/2 ounce spinnerbaits, I will probably do a double San Diego jam. It has a very similar structure to a uni knot once it's tied, but it allows for 2 lines of your fishing line to go through the eyelet. So it's a little bit stronger, extra strength there. It's a great knot for any swimming bait because it's so dynamic in the water and it's so strong. But let's get these tied and let's get to catching fish. Okay, so let's talk real quick as we're getting started. Trailers. Do I use a trailer? Do I use a trailer hook? Do I not use anything? Most of the time, I don't have any sort of trailer on my spinnerbaits. However, if the bite is tough or I feel like I'm getting short strikes, I will definitely use a trailer hook. I'm much more likely to use a trailer hook than I am to use a soft plastic trailer. Now, when would I use a soft plastic trailer? I would use a soft plastic trailer, like a paddle tail or a pin tail, if I'm not getting into the water column I want to fish, because when you add all of that mass, it produces drag so that when you reel, your bait actually pulls down lower into the water column, kind of like a crankbait. So today, I might use the trailer hook, the Mustad. I probably will, but I will not be using any soft plastic trailers because this body of water is just not deep enough to warrant it when I have 1/2 ounce spinnerbaits that I can throw. Now, if I just had a 1/4 ounce spinnerbait and I really needed to get down deep, then I could absolutely throw on a little paddle tail and get myself a little bit deeper than I was getting. One more here and then we'll move. Right there. Oh, I had a bite. I had a bite right there. So we're gonna give that another go. This is on the darker profile, but it also has the silver willow blades, which we're getting a good bit of sunlight into the water right now. So those might be, the silver ones might be the ticket at the moment. There we go. Came back for him and he came back for it. And there we have the first spinnerbait bass of the video. And not a bad one for this little pond. Not bad at all. Got him on that purple spinnerbait. Beautiful little bass. Let's get him back in the water. And there he goes. Windy day like this, perfect conditions for spinnerbaits, bladed jigs. There we go. What was I saying? Perfect conditions, right? All right, another nice little, go my line, nice little pond bass. Nothing spectacular yet, but they're active, they're eating, they're chasing bait fish is what this is telling us. So even if you just use your spinnerbaits and you establish a pattern, there he goes out there. I was wondering, where did he go? He pushed up against shore and went that way. Even if you're just using your spinnerbaits to establish like a pattern now, like now I know I can cover water quickly and I've established they are chasing, moving bait fish profiles, whether that's shad or perch or bluegill or whatever it might be, shiners. I know I can catch them on a moving bait. Now I can maybe change up my approach if I want to target something a little bit more aggressively. But if it's me and I'm getting bit on a spinnerbait, I'm just going to keep throwing a spinnerbait. There we go. On the bigger profile, but by far the smallest fish of the day. But he munched that big spinnerbait. Good little fish. Hooah! And there he goes. There we go. And this one's got a little bit of fight in him. This might be the best one of the day here. Biting. There we go. Another little good pond fish. Cold as all get out. On the spinnerbait. Telling you guys, if you're not throwing a spinnerbait in the fall, you are missing out on fish. There we go. Another one. And another one. Yoinked up. Another little farm pond bass. And I'm telling you, as well as this works on a farm pond, you have to consider these fish. There's no shad or shiners in this pond. Their primary forage is either other bass or bluegill. So imagine going to a shad fishery where they're used to chasing silver shad or shiners, you will tear them up. Okay. Another one here. This guy's strong. For such a little guy, he was horsing us around there. Another beautiful fish on the spinnerbait. Let's see. There we go. There he is. See, we're getting pretty consistent in size, but again, this is the farm pond. Like, there are a handful of monster bass in here, but they are hard to get to eat. We can catch those all day long. There he goes. Well, that is it for spinnerbaits. If you're not throwing a spinnerbait this fall, you're missing out on bites. So make sure you've got some, go get some. I'm gonna have links below to some of my favorite spinnerbaits. Now, full disclosure, if you use those links, it helps me out. I get a little bit of kickback from Amazon, and that's great for us, especially as we're trying to grow the channel and get to the point where I can do this full time. So please check those out and then drop a comment. Let me know what your favorite spinnerbait is, your favorite blade shape, blade color, and skirt profile is on a spinnerbait. I would love to hear more about your favorites. That's it. Hope you guys enjoyed it. Hope it was valuable, and I will catch you all next time.